Hi everybody, welcome to this new video of the GenAI Nerd channel. And this is actually the first video in a series of videos that I want to develop on how to leverage generative AI for academic research. And in this video, I want to focus on how to use generative AI to get inspiration for new research projects. And I will mainly focus on kind of prompting strategies that we can apply to get good new ideas for research. And I will use a specific example here, and here you can see it. So I recently published a paper together with a co-author, Anna Braatström, and this is a conceptual paper about the concept of innovation theater. And in this paper, we kind of theorize on when corporate venturing initiatives can get legitimacy, when they might become innovation theater. That means a lot of fuss, but not really creating a lot of outputs, and what the implications of that could be. And so, as you can see, we have developed a kind of conceptual model, but now let's imagine that we want to start from this model to think about empirical research that we could do. So let me show you how you can start prompting in ChatGPT to get inspiration for an empirical project. Okay, so here you can see our prompt. So I have already uploaded our paper that we have published. So this is this conceptual paper that we published before. And so now let's take a look at the prompt that I have prepared. So I'm saying I'm an academic researcher that needs inspiration for a new research project. That's my identity. Then I'm saying to ChatGPT, you are a seasoned researcher with plenty of top-level publications in prestigious management journals. So that's the identity that I want to give to ChatGPT. And now let's give it some instructions. Can you help me to get inspiration for my next quantitative research project where let me go up now again, where I want to study potential moderators for the relationships that are proposed in the attached paper. In this new research project, I want to focus on the particular setting of corporate venture capital. Please generate a list of hypotheses highlighting the moderators and the moderating effects. So that's kind of the output that I want. And finally, to encourage it a bit, I'm saying I will give you a $20 tip if you do a good job, because actually there are some rumors that tipping ChatGPT, or at least pretending to tip ChatGPT, can improve its performance. Yes, so now we can press enter. And you see it's reading now the document. And now you see it starts giving me output. So we want to see a list of hypotheses with moderators. And indeed, it says, okay, corporate startup strategic fit could be a moderator, and it formulates potential hypotheses for that. And some other moderators are identified, like technological turbulence, the impact of top management turnover. So you see a nice list of hypotheses that I already get by this quite straightforward prompt. Yeah, so I hope you see that by giving a prompt with some clear context, you can already get a good output. Now, of course, it's always a bit time consuming to give a lot of context. Now, today, ChatGPT actually has projects. So if you go here, you see projects, so you can create projects. And I, for instance, have an academic research project. And here you have kind of a dedicated environment to do prompts on a particular topic. And the nice thing is that you can here give it kind of instructions in the background. And so every time when I do a prompt in this project, it will take this information into account. Yeah? So I'm saying here, I'm an academic researcher with the ambition to publish in top-level management journals. You are an experienced academic scholar that will function as my mentor. You have very high standards and only rely on existing research from high reputation journals. Yeah? So these are kind of the instructions here in the background. So now here I can write a similar prompt, but I will not have to give all the context. Yeah? So again, we could now copy paste my prompt again, but we can actually now leave out the first part because that's already known in the instructions. So I actually don't need that anymore. So now I can remove that, and then I can execute my prompt again, and I will get a very similar response. So that's kind of a time saver working with these projects, where for different kind of tasks that you want to do, you can create different projects. Yeah, so you see that here we can already get quite some inspiration. Now, until now, we have done quite straightforward prompting. And we can actually make more complex prompts that can further improve the output. And there are kind of 3 overall strategies that we can use to improve our prompt and also get better output out of it. And the first strategy is called chain of thought prompting. And what does chain of thought prompting mean? It means that I will give ChatGPT a task, in this case, come up with hypotheses, but I will also explain steps that it needs to execute to do that task. And we know from research that this chain of thought will help ChatGPT to further improve its quality. Another approach is few-shot prompting, which actually simply means that you give examples in your prompt about what kind of output you are expecting. And again, this helps ChatGPT to get a very good understanding about what you want. And finally, we can do what is called rule-based prompting. And that means we are simply stipulating some rules that it needs to take into account when executing the prompt. Now, again, that's quite time-consuming if you have to write all these details in a prompt. Luckily, there are already tools available today to help you to accomplishing this. And let me show you how you can do that today. So what we can do, for instance, is to go to the developer platform of OpenAI. So let me do that now. So this is actually the platform that developers use to work with OpenAI. So this is not the typical ChatGPT interface, but the developer platform. But in the developer platform, you have a playground. And so here we are now in the playground, so more specifically the chat playground. And here we can what is called provide a system message. That's kind of the prompt you want to give. And here you see this option. And if I click on that, it will ask, what would you like the model to do? And here I can add my initial prompt. Yeah, so again, we can do now the same prompt that I did in the beginning. This was my what we call a 0-shot prompt. So this was a prompt with one specific task. And now we can press create. And now we have to briefly wait. And what's actually happening here is that now ChatGPT will try to improve my prompts, bringing in chain of thought prompting, few-shot prompting, and rule-based prompting. So instead, me having to, from scratch, start writing this complex prompt, actually, ChatGPT is doing it here for me. So let's take a look what it has created. So it starts quite similar, like saying, oh, you need to create hypotheses. But now it's actually describing the process, how it needs to do that. Start by thoroughly reviewing the attached paper. And you see we get quite some explanation here. Let me go up again. It's now a bit difficult to see. Highlight each hypothesis. And here you see it even creates me now steps. Yeah? So review existing relationships, identify potential moderators, develop hypotheses, which needs to include a number of elements, do the reasoning. Here it will actually stipulate what kind of output do I want. So here it's giving examples of the output. And then it gives even more specific examples of how the output could look like. And finally, here are some additional examples. And finally, we have some notes, and these are some rules that it will need to respect, like ensure hypotheses are aligned with existing literature and corporate venture capital, consider the theoretical frameworks for the given paper. So these are some additional rules. And so now what we can simply do is to copy this very extensive, much more sophisticated prompt, copy paste it. You see it's now a very large prompt. So we can copy it, and now we go back to ChatGPT. And we can now add that to our prompts. And of course, I now have to add again the document, the initial document that it needs to use as a starting point. So here is the paper that I want to upload. And now we can press enter. And now it will start executing this much more complex prompt, which typically should also provide higher quality output. Yeah? So let us take a look again. We see here again some relationships, proposed moderators, hypotheses. It even now gives some reasoning behind these hypotheses. So that's already a kind of improvement. So we see we get quite some inspiration here about which kind of hypothesis we could test based on this conceptual paper as output. Yeah, so I hope that this shows that with some easy steps, you can already create very sophisticated prompt that can really help you to get a lot of inspiration about what the next research project can be for you. And at this point in time, this is only possible in the playground. Now, this playground you can only use when you have given credit card information, because developers use it to talk with the API. Now, it's not that you will run enormous costs. These are mini cents that you pay for this one single prompt, but you will only be able to use it when you have enabled your credit card information here and have bought credits. So that's the kind of technical limitation that you're facing here. But I think it's definitely worth playing with this, because then you can really start to get a good understanding about what sophisticated prompts are about. Okay, so this was kind of a first video helping you to leverage generative AI for research. I will post other videos on this topic in the near future. So please subscribe to the GenAI Nerd channel if you want to stay up to date. And also, if you have any comments or suggestions for additional videos, please don't hesitate to reach out.